Hi, my name's Sarah. I have lost over £250. I've been maintaining that weight loss now for nearly a year and a half. I wanted to do a video around binge eating. Now, I know binge eating is a very complex subject. People do it for various reasons. This is purely about the reasons that I was doing it and the way that I've managed to get some control over that. At my heaviest, I weighed £435. I would binge eat at least 3 times a week. I had various things that I would binge eat on. I'm not going to get into that now because we will literally be here all day. I had various shops that I would go into and buy certain things from. That's how bad I was. So I would also have boxes of food in the house. So the first thing that I did when I started my weight loss journey this time was I cleared out my house of all the things that I was binging on. So that was the first thing that I did. The second thing that I did was I made sure that I was eating 3 filling meals a day. I made sure I was full. At that time, I liked to feel full. That was one of my problems around food, was that I needed to feel like I was full all the time. So that's what I did when I started my weight loss journey. I followed a plan where I could eat quite a lot of food, and I still continued to lose weight on that. Obviously, as my weight loss journey has continued, my portions have gotten smaller. I've learned what a portion size is, but it is a learning curve and it does take time. So that's how I started. Then I needed to sit down and think about the reasons why I was binge eating in the first place. So when I sat and thought about it, ultimately the reasons that I was binging was because I was angry or I was upset. Whether that be about a situation or a person, it didn't matter, but that was the main reasons why I was binge eating. Now, ultimately, the reason was because I had no control over a situation or a person or what someone was saying to me. That was the reason, was because I had no control. So it was quite a revelation to me when I realised that I had no control over a situation, which was then making me binge eat, which I had no control over. So that was quite a revelation. So the first thing that I needed to do was to totally accept that I have no control over certain situations. I have absolutely no control, and I needed to learn to accept that. So that was the first thing that I had to do. So when I learnt to do that, and it is hard, but you don't have control over that. The only thing that I have found that I have any control over is what I eat. That's the only thing that I have any control over. So I've taken that on board, and that's part of the reason why I've managed to curb my binge eating. So it's all around control for me. That's purely what it is. I have no control, so therefore I'm going to binge eat. So that doesn't help the situation, so I'm not going to binge eat. It sounds quite simple, but it's not. It really isn't. So the reason that I cleared the house out then becomes evident, because if I did need to, and I did feel like I had a binge coming on, I would have to physically either make a phone call, or I would have to get in the car and drive to a shop or drive to a takeaway. Now, when I felt those things coming on, it's just about trying to be mindful. It doesn't work all the time, but it did work 99% of the time for me. It's about thinking about why I'm doing what I'm about to do. When I'm going to binge eat because I have no control. That's the reason that I'm going to binge eat. So then the next question is, how is this going to help? Well, it's not. We all know that binge eating doesn't help. In fact, it makes things worse, because you then feel ashamed and you feel bad, so therefore you binge eat again. So ultimately, it's about trying to reason. Now, actually having to go and buy the food gives me time to reason. So that's how I managed to curb it in the first place. I can now have food in the house, and I do have food in the house. I do occasionally still have a binge. They're nowhere near as bad as they were, because I can't physically eat that amount of food anymore. I just can't. So that's part of the reason. Also, the reason is that I do tend to think about it a little bit more. I've been to the point now where I can eat and throw it away halfway through because it suddenly clicked in my head that this isn't going to help a situation at all. Binge eating doesn't help, and it's not going to help. So that's how I've managed to deal with binge eating. To me, it's all around control. So me learning to accept situations for what they are, and that the fact that I can't change them helps. Also the fact that I'm the only one that can control what I eat is another big thing for me. So ultimately that's how I've managed to curb my binge eating. So hopefully this helps somebody. If obviously it's an extremely complex subject and people do it for various different reasons. Like I said, this is purely the reason that I do it, and that's how I've managed to gain some control back over it. So thank you for tuning in. Goodbye.